Hey, so today what I'm going to talk about is properly vetting men, right? And quite honestly, this is just how, we should kind of go about vetting people in general, too, right? Because vetting people is probably one of the most difficult things you could possibly do, right? There's a lot that can go wrong with vetting people, and properly vetting people has a lot to do with how far you've come with your own internal work and your own boundaries and your worldview at the time as well, right? There's a lot that can go into it, a lot of things that can go kind of awry when it comes to vetting people. Like I said, vetting people is just very difficult in general. In fact, like anyone who's ever been fired from a job, right? At one point in time, they were considered the best candidate for that job, right? Now I know that there's so many things that can kind of pop off when it comes to the workforce and job. Let's not get into it. Basically, at one point in time, they were the number one candidate out of everyone, who was interviewed for a job, right? And that's through rounds and rounds of interviews and this, that, and the other. You get it. Basically, vetting people is difficult. And so what I want people to understand, women especially, and I know too, I will give this caveat. I know that women are always told to, they say, work on yourself and do better for yourself and things like that. And I know that especially when I was, in the church especially, it started to become a really, really frustrating thing that would be told to women, that if something went awry, it was because you either didn't try, or it was somehow your fault because you didn't properly prepare yourself. And I know that that's true to an extent for some people, but also it kind of leaves out a lot of important information with regards to how in modern times men and women kind of relate to one another. It's just very, very difficult, right? Especially with the sexual revolution that happened, and living in the aftermath of that, and what that means for love, dating, and relationships, even the advent of dating apps and how people get along. It just really kind of clouds the love, dating, and relationship scene, right? Because nowadays, it's a lot less apparent what someone may want in a relationship. 50, 60, 70 years ago, it was a little more straightforward, and also too, if a man wanted sex back then, it was a matter of getting married, right? That or just hiring a hooker or something. Nowadays, it's much easier to come by. Or sex is much easier to come by. So because they don't necessarily have to commit, there's now a wide range of reasons why, a man may approach you. And I've been someone in the past who, you thought someone's intentions were one thing and they weren't. And it did come down to properly vetting and making sure that I knew how to vet people, right? So for me, I started with myself when it comes to establishing boundaries, just knowing more about myself, knowing what I wanted, knowing what my standards were, right? And so that's kind of more so base level. Now, when it comes to actually, getting out there and dating and meeting people and vetting, that's where it gets kind of tricky, because you can set boundaries in your head all day, but until you actually get practice doing it, they can be very, very difficult. So when it comes to vetting a person, I keep saying this, I keep repeating myself. I'll get to it. When it comes to vetting a person, quite honestly, your best defense is time. Right. And I know that that's very difficult for some people to know, because time is kind of arbitrary, because there isn't actually any specific time frame. I will say, though, that when it comes to the majority of people, and I'm just talking about, your run-of-the-mill person, you're just your average person. I'm not talking about anyone with, major issues, any major mental issues, things like that. Just your, normal person. You walk into Walmart, see a person, it's very difficult to keep the same charade for an extended period of time. About, like, once you get around, I'd say maybe like 3 or 4th month mark or so, it's very, very difficult for a person to continue to hide their intentions when it gets to that amount of time with someone, right? That's just kind of in general. So when it comes to vetting someone, again, time is your best bet. And I know that you may want to, for a lot of people, you want to skip this part because you're just like, oh, it's been 2 weeks and, he's really, really impressed me in this time. I think it's love. I think it's this, that, and the other. And I always say, hold off on making any kind of decisions until you get around that time. Now, here's the thing too, what a lot of people will kind of counter with is that, oh, but my parents, they, my dad proposed to my mom after 3 weeks. And here's the thing. So that may very well be true, right? And it did work out, and they did have a great relationship. And so a couple things with that. One, they're definitely an outlier in that. And two, a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of people. Well, maybe I should say a lot of people. A lot of times we kind of think of in terms of what just the end game is, right? So they say, they got married and things have been great. Problem is, we don't know when things weren't so great. Every single couple that has ever coupled had times in their relationship when things weren't great. And there were times when, being informed about those times that weren't great could have been better handled with more information and preparation in the beginning, right? So just because they got married and have a really great relationship now doesn't mean that they probably should have held off on that decision and gotten counseling, or even just taken, more time to really get to know that person before getting into a relationship, right? My thing is, I always say this, like, do you plan on dying anytime soon? No. For most people, and that's not making light of serious mental issues and things like that, but for the most part, waiting will always be in your favor when it comes to making decisions, right? Waiting will always be in your favor. So yes, I agree. For some people it does work out, but for the vast majority of people, making sure that you have time on your side to make decisions will always be your best bet, right? And so with that said, the other thing that is really, really, really important when it comes to vetting people is making sure that you are properly investing in this new relationship, new whatever you have going on, right? Whether it's, just dating, anything, casual, anything like that, right? Make sure that you properly manage your energy. I said again, make sure that you're properly managing your energy. This is especially true for us women, right? And the reason why I say this is, again, when it comes to, like I said, the sexual revolution, modern times and things like that, this is a really, really, really new era, right? In times past, you essentially just kind of had to, exist, and your family would kind of handle or help you handle, marrying and finding a partner and everything, right? So we didn't really get a lot of practice with dating as we know it today, right? Some people date for years, and that's just something that didn't happen as much in the past, right? And so what happened, because we didn't have a lot of practice with how dating stands today, I found that a lot of times we don't necessarily know how to properly invest in a relationship, and that we give too much, right? We end up giving way too much in the beginning. And now this isn't I don't want to say it's a bad thing per se. A lot of it just has to do with our own female nature or feminine nature. It's more so it's displaced, right? I don't like labeling female nature. A lot of times sometimes I see a lot of people labeling female nature as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Just a lot of times we just don't place it in where it should be in a relationship, right? Or we make it too intense when we really need to be kind of standing guard and just kind of doing more observing, right? Now, there's a couple reasons why you want to be careful how you invest in a person. One of those is, and if I find, you guys, I love studies. If I find it again, I will, or is it an article? I can't remember. If I find it again, I'll put it down below. But it's about when it comes to doing things for people, like small things, that actually draws you closer to a person when you do little things for them. And again, can't remember if this is a study or article or what. But basically, the more you do little things for someone, the more you want to continue doing it, and the more that you actually create a fondness for them, right? When you do things for people. And I found that really, really fascinating because I feel like it's one of those kind of a sleeper issue, right? Because you find yourself doing a lot of little things for a person. And what ends up happening is you don't realize, or you don't see, that they're actually not reciprocating, right? Meanwhile, you're falling more and more in love, or more and more in like, and you're not noticing what's happening, right? So you want to really mind your energy when it comes to investing in a person. And when I say investing, remember that investing is more than just money. It's also time. It's also time is the other biggest one. When it comes to investing in a person, it's your emotional energy, mental energy. The women, we really have to stand guard, but we really have to be careful about something like that, because a lot of times, men especially, because they tend to be more closed off emotionally, just socially, it's just not. Society has told men it's not okay to be an emotional being. They know that we are. So a lot of times, if a guy is, kind of asking, maybe not literally asking for emotional energy, but you may be the one who they come to with problems, because they know that you're a safe place, and you find yourself giving, help in that way, kind of being their soft place. But then you notice that he kind of, like, that's all he kind of approaches me for. Again, that is something that, again, when it comes to vetting someone, making sure that they are reciprocating in some way. Now, I will add a caveat too when it comes to this one, because men just often are not as mature in their emotional side. We may run circles around them. So I will say it is okay if someone isn't, as adept at things. But when it comes to actually investing in someone, we need to actually see them trying, right? Actually putting forth the effort. It's not so much if they're doing it right or wrong. That's a whole nother thing. We just need to see it, right? So properly vetting someone, time, and then also their investment. All right. So those are the two major things that you really should keep in mind when vetting someone. Right. Now, again, there is no way to perfectly vet someone. Ask any married couple right now if they 100% completely did a great job vetting, and they'll tell you no, there's still some issues in the relationship that was like, wish we could have, worked this out a little more before we got married. Same with, not even married couples, but just couples in general, right? There's always going to be something that falls through the cracks, but it's up to us to kind of decide on whether or not we want to deal with that in a relationship and see what we're going, see how to kind of proceed forward, right? So there's a lot of benefits other than just like vetting for a particular goal. Say, oh, is this person marriage material? That's important, but there's also other things too. Like vetting whether or not they're, how they perceive money, how they perceive religion. There's all sorts of reasons why you want to properly vet someone, right? All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments. If you have any issue with someone or something that's going on right now, I have my consultation link in the consultation link in the I almost said bio, written below. It'll be below. I have a consultation link there. And then also I will be releasing a ebook soon, which is, Male Nature Decoded. That is coming very shortly. Please sign up for that so you know when it's coming and you get first dibs on that ebook when it drops. All right. So have a great day, everyone. I'm actually kind of baking in my car a little bit right now because it is a very hot November day in where I am. It's actually nearly 80 degrees, which rarely happens in November, but it is what it is. So yeah, have a good one. And again, let me know if you have any questions or anything that concerns you when it comes to properly vetting a person. All right.